Welcome, everybody, to Nightcap Season 3 Candid Cafe Conversations. I, of course, remain your host, Maria. Hello. Welcome. And also with me joining in this beautiful, sunny day, apparently, coming straight from the heavens themselves, we have a beautiful guest, a very kind soul, a creative being. It's KP, everybody. Look
Hello,
at this.
everyone. Hi.
Look at this majestic human over here. Literally, the sky said, I agree. So, very
You should
happy.
see me in my work meetings. Everybody's like, did you die? Like, did you go towards the, like, did you walk in through the, stay away from the light. Stay away from the light.
The light is the best place to be. It shines. It brings up all of your, all of your goodness, right? It's such a pleasure to be able to chat with you. I've seen you everywhere for so long, and I'm like, one of these days, I gotta chat with this human being. And I'm so glad that day finally arrived. It's here. We're here.
I appreciate you having me. I'm very thankful and grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I know you on the internet. I know of you on the internet. You've done many internet things, but for anybody who is here listening, watching, who has not seen your beautiful visage or your beautiful creations or anything like that, whomst are you and what do you do?
Oh man, where do I guess I can say, so primarily I'm a photographer, so you may have seen my work, my photography work. I do cosplay and portrait photography. It's my pride and joy. I enjoy it deeply, and it's what allowed me to really kind of launch everything else that I do. It's kind of where, it helped me connect with other creative folks and kind of learn from them, and then sparked this joy and interest in TTRPG and tabletop role-playing games, getting into D&D, which then led to me wanting to tell stories, and then through that suddenly go, oh, I guess I'm now online and airing this live. So became an actual play person, and then everything just went one after the other, and here I am as a photographer, a voice actor, a TTRPG, and also just in general cultural consultant. I've worked in several different types of projects, one of which maybe you're familiar with is, if you're familiar with Riot Games' Valorant game, and I was the cultural consultant for their recent character that they released last year called Harbor, who's an Indian-based character. I've recently done an audiobook. I was the narrator for an audiobook called A History of Burning. I've been on multiple actual plays, some of which hopefully you have had the chance to see. If not, I totally understand. Who am I to judge and ask you to watch things with your limited and precious time that you all have? But if you ever are interested, you check them out. But yeah, I'm kind of all over the place, aren't I?
You're doing so many amazing things, and it's so fun and cool to watch you flourish and thrive in various areas at various times. So you've listed, like, I made a list of, like, these are the things I know KP for, and you were like, this one. I'm like, this is great. Now we're gonna just dive into all of those things.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to chat about is your photography. You brought it up first. Yeah. It's the first thing I knew you for. Well, I knew you specifically for a photo of yourself in cosplay, a very specific photo that I'm sure we'll be able to talk about. But I wanted to like dial it way back. What got you interested in photography, and what was the pivot point of, like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this, but get money for it also. Because I'm sure there was a turning point at some point of, like, this is a really cool thing I like, and then also I want to also get money for it.
That is I think the second half especially, I don't think I've ever been asked. So that's a really great question. I appreciate that. I got into photography because, well, funny enough, half the things I got into was out of spite.
I love that.
In the sense of, so I kind of was always interested in like artistic endeavors. Growing up, I liked arts. I liked doing drawing. I liked creative work. I felt very empowered doing it, but at the same time being an immigrant child and coming from a culture that doesn't, I mean, it values art, but it doesn't see monetary value in it, and therefore doesn't let its kids invest into them too much, right?
Yeah.
I was always pushed towards more of like the engineering and the medical and those sort of fields, so I never really allowed myself to kind of explore those things too much. But there was always that aspect of me. And in high school, I actually took up a digital photography class as part of one of my electives. But mind you, I just did it because I needed the points. And the reason I actually wanted to do pottery, but my parents told me to do photography because my cousin did photography and they saw what she was doing, and so they're like, oh. And then once again, even in the artistic, it was, what is the most useful artistic one?
Yeah.
And so they're like, what are you gonna do with pottery? You can, at least if you get into photography, learn photography, you can take great pictures of people.
Family pictures.
You can take family pictures. There's a use out of this versus pottery. You're just like, why are we looking into the use, like monetary use out of these things? But that's kind of why I pushed into photography, but not being very interested in it. I didn't really particularly do that well, actually. I didn't apply myself. And flash forward, I took digital photography too, because I had to take it 2 semesters. And I'm not proud of this at all. And I will absolutely never encourage anybody ever to do this. Especially now as an artist, knowing how damaging it is and how frustrating it is when others do this with your work. But being a young kid and a naive child, just wanting, I had a bunch of AP courses that I was taking, so I was like, this is my least priority thing right now. And so I plagiarized. I am a terrible human being.
Shame on you, young KP. Shame on you.
I still feel terrible for it. But honestly, looking back, maybe this needed to happen, because I plagiarized, got away with it 2-3 times, and then the 4th time, I still remember it was a black and white assignment. We were supposed to take black and white photos. I submitted something off of that I found on DeviantArt, of all places, and forgot that my photography teacher visited DeviantArt. And on top of that, I happened to pick the photo that ended up being selected for like their front page, like editor's choice, whatever. So he saw it and he's just like, that's not your photo, man. Which is fine. I got punished, justified. It was very justified. I got my first time ever going to detention for a week. All of that, absolutely deserved. And he was very upset with me, totally understood, right? But where the spite comes in afterwards, because this was in 11th grade. And then flash forward, I learned my lesson, 12th grade, I start doing really well. I still feel very, guilty about this. And I remember going on our school's football team went to state, so we had to drive up to Spokane, which is like a 4-hour drive from Portland. And were
you playing sports?
No. Like,
okay, so you were just going for
it was an away game. It was up near in Tacoma or Spokane, one of the two. I forget which one. But so we had they rented buses for us from Vancouver, Washington, to drive us all up to go see us play in state. And then I remember after the game was over, we were driving back. We had to stop for dinner, and unfortunately, I'm vegetarian, so they stopped at McDonald's. I'm like, I can't eat anything here. There's a Taco Bell and a Subway I can eat at. Can we go there? But apparently, you need a chaperone. And my photography teacher finally said, yeah, I'll take you. Let's go. And that was one of my most awkward walks I've ever been on, because he did not talk to me. He did not even look at me. Mind you, this is flash forward a year.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't interact with me. And so finally I'm like, Mr. Morrison, are you still mad at me? Like, I'm so sorry. I know I did something bad, but I learned from it. I'm growing. And he's like, yeah, I'm still mad at you, but whatever. Let's not talk about it. I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe he needs more time. Flash forward another 2 years. Now, I've graduated high school. I've gone into the United States Navy. And then I came back again. So that original conversation happened in 2008, 2009. And flash forward to 2012, when my brother was graduating, I came back. And I went to my high school to go visit all my teachers. And the one that wasn't there was that photography teacher. And by this point, I got inspired to pick up photography again. I saw one of my fellow shipmates. He was doing photography just for fun as a hobby, and we were in South Carolina in Charleston, and he was just taking like cityscapes, like he was going around taking pictures of the city and the people, like street photography. And I just, something about it spoke to me. I saw those pictures and I just sat there and I just remember staring at them for so long, and I'm like, what is this feeling? Like I feel like all these feelings and just feel so good while looking at these photos. Oh, well, if I can feel this way, I bet other people can feel this way looking at these photos. I want to do this. I want to give that feeling to people. I want to feel like that all the time. And I want to see and take photos and look at these photos and have this feeling with me at all times. So I decided to buy my first DSLR camera in 2011, January. I bought it. And flash forward 2012, I come back and I'm excited now because I'm like, hey, look at, I want to show off to my teacher. I'm like, Mr. Morrison, I messed up, but look at me now. Like, I've gotten into this. I'm becoming very passionate about it. He wasn't there.
Oh,
And
no.
so, unfortunately, he wasn't there. But the thing was, one of his fellow friends was also a teacher there. So I went and talked to him, and he's like, yeah, I'd absolutely love to get him on a call and you guys can chat. And I remember him picking up the phone, and then this is all I hear. He goes, hey, dude, yeah, it's been a while. How you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Hey, so I have one of your former students here, and, he wants to talk to you. His name is Prakash. Yeah, he said he wanted to show some stuff to you and just chat with you. Uh-huh. Yeah, he's in the Navy. He's doing nuclear engineering in the Navy. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. Click. And he turns to me and goes, you don't want to know what he said, man. I'm like, what? Why? What did he say? Like, just tell me what's going on. Why? And he goes, so he said, as soon as I said, he asked me what you were doing, and as soon as I said that you were in the United States Navy doing nuclear engineering, he goes, well, I hope he doesn't cheat there as well. And then he's like, I'll talk to you later, and then puts the phone down. And that day, the level of spite that raged through me, I was like, how petty can a person be? And so my thought process was, you know what? I'm just gonna be a better photographer than him, and I'm gonna be a better teacher than him. I'm gonna learn, and then my goal is to learn and then empower other people to want to learn, and never ever make anybody feel that way ever through me. And so that's kind of what really then drove me into 100% like putting a lot of my passion and energy into photography and wanting to learn and grow. And then I get out of the Navy, flash forward, I come out, and my friend then he was the one who, my best friend, hooked me up with my first paid gig, where they had a family friend who was getting married, and so they needed someone to do their baby shower. And I ended up doing that. I went up, still had my first camera that I bought. It was a Canon T2i, a Rebel 550 as it's also known. So a very basic camera with the kit lens still on it, nothing else, no other special things. And then just going around and taking photos. So looking back, they're terrible photos, but at the time, everybody they're praising me. They're like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And they gave me $80. I'm like, "I got $80 for doing this." So that was my first paid gig, and it just motivated me more to keep doing it. So kind of sorry, a very long-winded answer.
It was a very good answer. Listen, I would not take any. I would not. All of that was priceless. It was so good. Like I'm a big fan of spite is such a good motivator if used correctly, and
absolutely.
I think this is an avenue where this is a shining example of spite used in a very good, healthy way.
Oh man. So like I said, maybe that was meant to happen for me to get this sort of a mindset and get this motivation and dedication to this craft, which I don't think I would have gotten had he not treated me the way he had treated me. So I guess silver lining out of the tough situations, right?
Yeah. So that was, you got that first $80 whatever check, cash, payment.
Yes.
And did that then just be like, okay, now I'm gonna go try to get my next $80, or where was that switch of oh, I can get money for this. You're continuing to get better. And then, like, you know, the KP11 Studios comes around. Like, what's that kind of timeline? Why KP11 Studios? Where'd the
Funny enough.
11 come from?
So great questions. I think so, mind you, so I got my first camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess you could say my first exposure to photography wasn't until 2007. I
Mm-hmm.
got my first camera in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get my first paid gig until probably 2013, I want to say. And I didn't start making this a consistent paid business until I want to say 2016.
Mm.
Is when I really started to think of it as a business and wanting to make money off of it. So that the first time I made it actually into a business was our local. When I was in Portland, we had our local. It was a KomoriCon. I think it was either KomoriCon. I think it was KomoriCon. I ended up, saying, "Hey, I'll be a photographer for this con, and here's my booking prices." I made my first flyer and wanting to book, and I think that was when it became a consistent thing. But also, I'm trying to think, did that happen before or after? I think that was after. So actually, and I guess this wasn't even a paid gig, but what really I think pushed me to be able to be confident to do it was my photo shoot with Ginny D, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in 2017,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. And that was a pure happenstance. I was in Colorado because of a bachelor party, my cousin's bachelor party. And we happened to be there. I had just done another gesture shoot with a friend of mine named Sam Axe in Portland, and that blew up, that photo shoot, and Ginny D happened to see it. And when we realized that we were going to be in the same place together, we ended up doing a photo shoot together. That was also the same time I met Jesse and Laura Jurdak as well. And that photo shoot blew up. And so that was kind of when I was like, I really have something here. I think I can really capture people's cosplays really well. So that was the year, I think 2017 was the year I did my first like convention paid shoots. And and then it just built up really quickly there. And the reason I gave these timelines is because, it, for me, took a long time from when I first got exposed to photography to when I first got my camera to when I got my first paid gig to when it actually finally became something that I was consistently being paid for. And I think my hope with that story is that if others are trying to pursue a passion or pursue a creative work for themselves and wanting to make something out of it, just know that sometimes it takes time and it takes patience, and it will happen eventually if the right things start falling into place. You just don't know when that is. Sometimes some people I know literally 2 years into photography and they made it into a business and now they're making a bunch of money off it, and they're like, how did you do that? How did that even happen?
Exactly.
So each path is different, right? And just because you're on a different path doesn't mean it's the wrong one. I think I like to tell people ultimately in the end, take care of yourself first, and then your art will take care of you. Because because to me, that starving artist concept is such a bullshit concept.
It's
don't believe in
it's
it.
so bad for you, your brain, your literal body, your
Yeah.
craft. Like,
Because I feel that maybe a handful of folks out of that might get something out of it, but the likelihood that you just hurt yourself more in the long run is so much more, right? And I think ultimately in the end, you got to weigh yourself on what is hurting you more, right? Because I get it. Sometimes being in a corporate job or doing something just for money can be debilitating and upsetting and just hurting you mentally and physically. If that is hurting you more than you just dumping all of that and you thinking, I'm fine not making that much money, I just want to put my focus on my passion and I'm okay with that, fine, do it. Whichever path is the path, that is hurting you the least,
Mm-hmm.
right? Pick that path. And if that means it'll take longer for your passions to pan out, in the meantime, you build up some money and stability, do that. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine. You don't need to be. First and foremost, there is no overnight success ever.
Correct.
No one out there, just because you didn't know the effort and struggle that they've been to before getting to that point, doesn't make them an overnight success. They put probably a lot of work and effort and hard work in there well before all of that you hadn't seen.
Mm-hmm.
So just know that it is a process, and
Mm-hmm.
and it might take a while, it might take a long time, but ultimately, as long as you take care of yourself, that will translate into you being more capable, more
Mm-hmm.
energetic, and more your art will grow more
Mm-hmm.
in a more organic way, which then eventually will pick up a better audience, which then gives
Mm-hmm.
you that confidence to start charging for it while still making, because initially you're not going to make much off of, even when you start charging for it, you're not going to make much money off of that until you build up a repertoire, build up an audience and a client base and all of that. And then finally, you then can decide when it's right for you to just make that jump. But,
Mm-hmm.
take care of you first, always.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that aspect of there's also like the realism that needs to go into creative stuff, because like I also been a very creative person since forever, in various different outlets, and thankfully had parents who like they were like very artistic, very
Mm-hmm.
musical, very like all of these sorts of things, who were like, all right, if you want to pursue theater, which is what I
Yeah.
did, you can do that. Just also be realistic
Yeah,
of like,
exactly.
you also need to eat, you also need to pay bills and all of those sorts of things. So there is that aspect of like, if there was that thing that you said of like, sometimes it may take longer for you to like fully dive into your craft or whatever your passion is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're taking that time to really prepare to dive into it full
Yeah.
force while also taking care of yourself, it means that like you can take the time to nurture your craft,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not burning yourself out so hard trying to produce so much content,
Yeah,
whatever X content is. Your passion for it won't burn out as quickly. Because I'm sure
exactly.
any creative person can tell you, passion comes and goes
Yeah,
in different amounts. Sometimes
absolutely.
I'm sure photography sometimes feels like a job, and sometimes it's like this is my job. Various
Yeah.
different degrees of stuff. Um,
Like I
but
was
also,
ready until right before that shoot with Ginny D, I was ready to give up photography.
mm-hmm,
I was at that stage where I was just like, nothing's really coming out of this. I'm not feeling that creative energy anymore. I
mm-hmm,
don't really enjoy the process as much as I used to. Like every day I would go running out with my camera, no matter where I went, even if it was just like friends, like gatherings and stuff. And then I realized that I was doing that less and less and less. And
mm-hmm,
then to the point where I didn't even bother thinking about my camera. And then that photo shoot, I think, really reignited that passion in me. So like, just like as your
mm-hmm,
example, like that passion comes and goes.
mm-hmm.
Um, it, 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 it's just a matter of being consistent and treating yourself first.
Yeah, yeah. And I really liked what you said of take care of yourself and your craft, and then your craft will take care of you. And
Exactly.
I think that's so good, because like at specifically in like the creative arts, my personal opinion is that creative arts are so intrinsically connected to your the deepest part of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's just your being, your soul, whatever that resonates with, but it is a connection of yourself that you are producing and putting out into the world. For
Yeah.
photography, this is literally what I'm seeing and what I want you to see. whether it's a person in beautiful cosplay and like, this is how you act, this is how you look. You need to know how badass you look right now, or how gorgeous you look right now, or painting, or music, or anything that's singing, anything like that. You're showing the world, showing whomever, little bits of yourself that you want to make sure you're putting yourself into your stuff as
Yeah.
much or as little as you want to. It's part of you is going to be in there. And I think that's why art resonates so deeply with people, and so so much in like cultures and everything. There's so much art, kind of like what you were talking about, like growing up, like there's so much art in everywhere, because it hits people in such a different way
Yeah.
than other kinds of things. And I think it's gorgeous. So cultivate your craft, everybody.
Yeah. And
it.
another thing is, people don't realize that there's a difference between being an artist and a business.
Mm-hmm.
You can be an artist and do things for yourself, and that's totally fine. But if you want to make money off of your art, if you want to make a living off of your art, you need to be more than just an artist. And that takes time and skills outside of just, you can learn all the techniques, as an artist that you want. But beyond that, if you want to be a business, if you want to make this into your livelihood, you need to learn how to be sociable, how to market yourself. You need to learn how to, accounting and how to manage money. You need to know what your budget is, and based off of that, how much you can charge people and what you need to charge people. You need to have that confidence to be able to charge that to people, because you're going to have clients who are going to push back and you're going to be like, that's too expensive, or they'll tell you that, oh, you're not worth your price. Fine, that's them.
Yeah.
But you work on your craft, you work on your skills, and then you will find your market. You will find your clients who are willing, who will find worth in your art to be able to pay for it and want to pay for it at the price that you set for yourself, that is realistic to you and help, what is correct for you, so that you can maintain a decent living. And so that part of it comes from a lot of life lessons and experiences and other knowledge beyond just being an artist. And that takes time. How long that takes is just individually, that's determined by the individual, right? Even today, doing this for so long, still struggle. Like, even today, what I do, I cannot make a living off of my photography. I cannot make a living off of my voice acting or anything else just yet, because I haven't gotten to that stage where I know I can make a consistent amount of money that is sufficient to pay for me, pay for my family, make sure that they have a roof over their head and food on their plates. All of that I need to take into account. And you're gonna get pushback when you start realizing that is how you need to approach this. But learning how to deal with all of that, learning how to manage all of that, understanding that process, and then budgeting and planning for yourself, that is a separate skill set that you need to cultivate to be able to do this. So if you don't have that just yet, know that will come. You just need to put the effort into that, and that will take time. But that's fine, because that just means you're setting yourself up for success when you do have that jump.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest thing, if anybody doesn't take anything away from this, or if you don't take anything except for this, I should say, it takes time, and that's okay.
Exactly.
That's not a bad thing. Learning things is not a bad thing. Taking time to do things the right way is not a bad thing. And I'm not talking about doing art the right way. Like, that's subjective.
No, yeah, exactly.
But like all the stuff that you were talking about, all that practical stuff, all of that life knowledge, those life skills that you have to get first to really fully be able to dive into all of these things. There's too many stories of, like you said, the starving artists and people who didn't prepare for the realities of what, trying to start a business and trying to do fully passion projects and like all these things, thinking, oh, but people will be just as passionate about it as I am, which maybe that's the luck element that nobody tells you
Yeah,
about. There's a little bit
exactly.
of luck in all this sort of stuff, but like, just prepare yourself for success. Build up, start with the good stuff first and then work on the better stuff, and that
Exactly.
it's a great, they make a great cake that way too.
And you also have to be, the other aspect is you got to be prepared for lulls in your
Yeah.
work, because you're going to have moments where you're not going to get clients, you're not going to get business. And being prepared and knowing how to charge yourself so that way you have enough money set aside, build up and diversify what kind of work you can do, right? As a photographer, like now, I don't do just cosplay photography. I do portraitures of all sorts. I'm going to be getting into more headshot photography, and for business clients, I want to do maternity shoots and baby shoots, because I know there's a market there. So that if I cannot do the artsy cosplay or more of the artistic style photography, I still have another diverse branch that I can approach, that I can get additional form of income. It's also why I got into voice acting, not only because I do enjoy it, but because the times where I cannot do photography, if I'm not getting the clients there, I at least can know that this is another avenue of money that I'm passionate about and can learn about. And I'm not saying you need to do all of those things, right? But you have to prepare yourself and know that, okay, if you're an artist, right? What kind of different types of art? Sometimes, even if it's a type of art or a style of art that you don't enjoy, it's still business. And so what you remind yourself is, I'm doing this so I can have enough money so I can do what I actually enjoy doing without having to fear not getting money for it, right? So like having that mindset of like, I need to be a business is crucial. I think that is absolutely fundamental for being a successful artist in terms of making money off of it. And being able to diversify and being able to hit different markets with your work, so that way you have a steady flow of income.
I think that that's a really good idea, and I think that the word like diversifying your content, especially on the internet, especially in social, especially for online content creators, is such a like kind of thing with like all these new social media sites, all of these different ways that you can produce content online now. Geez, it sounds scary, or it sounds like exhausting, but that's it's realistic though.
Part of the
It
thing you're
does
getting
work. Yeah.
works, and it's part of what you kind of signed up for what you're
Yeah.
doing, and
Yeah.
that you gotta.
Yeah. And that's again to tap into that, like that's the realistic side of the wonderful, passionate, creative things that you want to do, is that it's also gonna be a little sucky in some places. It's gonna not
Yeah.
feel great in some places, but that
Yeah.
is the realism of it all, which is not
My
bad.
philosophy
Just
is my philosophy is, whatever I do, as long as I'm not hurting myself or someone else in the process of it, everything's fair game.
yeah.
You got to do it. You got to do what you got to do to make yourself successful. So it's part of the reason why, like, for example, make things easier on you, but don't do it at the cost of someone else. So which is why I don't touch AI related stuff or any of that's been coming up, because I know, I've seen what it can do and how it can make things easy for me, but I know at what cost, right? So until it is something that can be done ethically, which some places, like I think I think Adobe's doing something with their platform that it is like using permission from artists to be able to use that. But even then, but anyways, you know what I mean? Like, doing things the right way without hurting other people is part of the job. That helps with making sure you can produce what you need to produce, right? So
yeah. It's messy, everyone. It's not simple. It's like you were saying, it's not that overnight success.
No.
And success is also subjective. But It's all these other little things you have to think about, you have to do, you have to, consider all this sort of, when you line it all up, it feels like a lot and it feels exhausting, but that's where the time aspect comes in. We're coming back
Exactly.
to it, everyone. This is why you need
Exactly.
to take time, because if you try to do it all at once, you will crash and burn. You will absolutely just explode.
Yeah, and like you said, the reason it seems so daunting is because people expect to happen in a short period of time. But
Yeah.
what they don't realize is you build on it. You start small, you build one, you add new skills, and then eventually you get ready for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what matters. Don't think of it as one big daunting thing. Think of it as like
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna grab this. I have the bandwidth for this. I have the bandwidth for this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Let me make sure I can incorporate and work on it and get good at it. All right, now I can do this and this and this
Yeah.
and this, and you set your pace.
Yeah.
Don't ever let anybody else set your pace for you.
Yeah. Don't let other people set your pace or your value, because you said that earlier. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. Like monetary value or personal value.
Mhm.
Like it really it's a very challenging thing as an artistic person who wants to make money in, like, especially on the online space, but in any kind of creative outlet, to try to price yourself fairly for what you can do. Because I don't know about you, KP, I'm my biggest artistic critic. I the I am like, is this really worth X amount? Is it really worth X amount of dollars, this thing that I've made? These things that I'm trying to make? This other person's selling it for like the same amount, but it's like so much better. Maybe I should just,
I
y'all.
think people need to
It's
realize
exhausting.
two things are going to happen. Either one of the two things. One, you set your price and people find value in it and they'll pay for it. Great. Or two, you set your price, people don't pay for it, and then in there, either you stick to your price and you get better at it so that you match what you are pricing yourself at, or you will find the right market for you. You are probably just not, like, the right people were not looking at your work. That's all it is once again, art, we said this earlier, art is so subjective. What someone finds as trash, someone else finds as beautiful, right? So you keep doing what you're doing and you're going to find your audience, right? And then in the meantime, think about, so like, suppose you've set your budget, right? You've like, okay, I need to make this much amount of money per month to be able to pay for my bills and to not just survive but thrive, because that's the other thing. Don't focus on surviving, all right? Price yourself so you can actually thrive. Price yourself so you can take vacations. Price yourself so you can buy some luxuries for yourself and treat yourself and actually go and enjoy and not feel guilty about getting
Live.
yeah, and live and not feel guilty about getting like a cup of Starbucks. Like, that's not life. You shouldn't be fearful and just barely make enough to survive. That's no way for anybody. So you set your price so that you can achieve that, to be able to hit that budget. And then when you do that, you will either get better so that way you match that price, or you are going to get you're going to find the client that was willing to pay you for that price. And in the meantime, what you probably also need to do is, okay, no, I have the skills, I priced myself correctly based off of my skills and what my needs are. I'm still not getting clients. Now that means you have something else you need to work on, which is being marketable, reaching out and communicating yourself out there, using the social medias and various platforms to promote your work. All it means is you just haven't found your audience yet. So you need to do the effort and the work to find your audience. And then once you do, all the puzzle pieces start coming together, right? But the moment you start devaluing yourself, other people are going to devalue you, right? People are already looking for ways to devalue artists. Don't devalue yourself on top of that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Do what you need to do, price yourself how you need to price, and keep working at it, so that way the right people who value that will come. Like my I forget who this was. There was another photographer, and she was telling me how when she started pricing herself what she was supposed to price, she lost a lot of her original clients that were there initially.
Yeah.
which sucks. Yeah. But then she got into a new market of a bunch of people who were willing to pay for that, who did find value in it. And it gave her so much more, like her dignity of labor grew because of it, because she found people that valued her at what level she valued herself, and the value that she needed to thrive, right? You will find that market, they will come to you, and that's where you will succeed. If you lose clients, it's just not, they were not your clients to begin with.
Yeah. Yep.
They'll find someone else.
Yep. I wanted to talk about that intersection between doing that thing that you love and also finding your people, or finding the people that value you, artistically speaking, and business wise, and talk about TTRPGs and because I wanted to bring up and cosplays and stuff, like we kind of touched on cosplays and everything, because I wanted to bring up the picture that I know you for. And there's been multiple iterations since then. And this also kind of ties in a little bit with also what I want to talk about, which is your culture and your heritage and like all of that sort of stuff, because that's also fast. Listen, y'all, we could talk for 1,000 years here. This person is so cool. But the picture that I wanted to talk about is of the fantastic rendition of Gilmore from Critical Role Season 1, Gilmore of Gilmore's Glorious Goods, that you took yourself in a beautiful, wonderful... God, it's just really good. It's so incredibly good. I'll make sure that it's linked so that you all can enjoy it. But that's the first thing.
Is this the first one where I was just in a mustache?
I think that was the first one.
Yeah.
And then there was also the sultry one, which was really, really good. And then there was the reimagining one. Right? It was, listen, y'all, it went through a journey, and so did I.
Man.
So good. But that to me was the introduction of like, oh, this is a really cool person who takes really good pictures. That's really awesome. I had that hyperfixation for Critical Role at the time. Found you. You're now my face of Gilmore forever and ever. Because of the beautiful visual. I'm a very visual person, so that's probably why. But the like elements that you brought in from your own culture and everything into that cosplay was just so great. So I know I said we were going to talk TTRPGs. We'll come back to that because I really do want to focus on how you bring your, because it's Desi heritage, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
More specifically, the term Desi is kind of a ubiquitous. It's kind of like a catch-all sort of a term meant for anybody of like that South Asian descent. So it includes India, it includes Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and anybody else who kind of any of that diaspora as well, from people from that, even though they're born and raised elsewhere, if they connect and feel that same culture and they say that they connect to that culture, they kind of come under that Desi heritage sort of a feel. And so anytime I see another brown person or a South Asian person, if we have that similar vibe, if we are, come from that same culture specifically, then we're like, oh, fellow Desi, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be Indian and everything, but yeah. So yeah,
sure.
Sorry,
okay.
I didn't mean...
No, that's fine. I love learning about other people's cultures because like I am a mix of Puerto Rican and Swedish, which is a wild mix. But I'm starting to learn more about those cultures and how they're so different, but they have one thing in common, and it's me. So, but I really love learning about other people's cultures, and so this isn't going to be everyone listening. This isn't going to be a cultural lesson. Listen. There's so much that you could learn. However, specifically what I want to focus on is
Mhm.
how you take your culture and your heritage and how that is translated into specifically your creative space and also these other opportunities that you get to make. For
Oh
example,
man.
being able to be a creative consultant on Valorant. That's really cool. But then also, you know, in like the cosplay of Gilmore that you specifically did, and other aspects that your platforms on social media and like all of that sort of stuff.
Mm.
So, to reiterate, you have this fantastic culture, this beautiful culture. How do you how what are ways that you have incorporated it into
Oh man. Um.
you? Because obviously it's you. You're gonna have that culture because it's you,
uh,
and it goes with you. But
that is a great question, and the reason I find it very fun because even though I was born in India, I was raised more here in the
mm-hmm.
United States most of my life, right? So being an immigrant child, I feel like this is a common thing a lot of us go through where we have this we don't really know what our identity exactly is. We never feel
Mm.
we're fully American, and we never feel like we're fully whatever other culture that we are supposed to be a part of. And because of that, a lot of us, I feel, end up shunning one over the other.
Mm.
Most of the time, we shun our original culture and heritage so we can assimilate and not
Mm.
feel left out in the culture we're growing up in. So for me, after a while, I shunned my own culture. I kind of was like, whatever, it's there. I kind of do it for them. I do the motions for my parents to keep them happy, but I don't subscribe to any of it. I don't care particularly about any of it. I just do it to keep my parents happy, but I'm an American. I'm going to do all of this, and this is what I want to be. This is how I want to be perceived and seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so that because of that, you suppress an entire half of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
not really engage with it. And I have to give a lot of my growth and reconnection and acceptance of that to tabletop role-playing games.
Mm-hmm.
Because more specifically, I want to say because of my very first ever live streamed game that I was a part of called Waverly 98. It was a bubblegum shoe campaign. It's kind of like the way I like to explain it is think Stranger Things, but set in the 90s instead of the 80s. And that's kind of what it was, is us.
Listen, the
We are a bunch
90s
of
was a greater year because that's when I was born. So, like, the 90s are great, everybody.
90s decade.
90s babies,
91.
let's go. I was 91 too. We're the same age. Dang. Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Woo! The more you know, everyone.
So I created a character whose name is Arvin, and he was me. He was my high school version of me, but then he was the version of me that I ideally wanted to be in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of still me, still has all of my the mix of my personalities, but how I would have approached high school, how I would have approached my relation with my parents and my friends, and what kind of a friendship would I would like to have if I had this current mindset and you know, acceptance of myself, but as in a high school body, and exploring that. And the team that I had, the table that I was with, it was Sailor Austin was on there, and that was the first time I ever met them. It was them. It was man, I'm having the biggest brain fart right now.
Digging into that back brain.
It was Sarah. Sarah was our DM. Austin was in there. We had why am I blanking their name right now? Holy crap. No, this is my problem. I have the worst brain farts at the worst moments. Like I start like I know people's names up to when it's asked of me, and it just
oh yeah.
You know that SpongeBob meme and that
absolutely
SpongeBob moment? What's his name? Like, dining and breathing.
Yes.
And then that's what happens to me half the time.
Yeah.
I just sit going, Wasa Bote. Wasa Bote. I don't know if you know them. They worked on Sina Una, one of the writers of Sina Una. fantastic person. And then I think the final person was Atomic Firebird, but I don't think they're as prominent right now anymore, or at least active anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great table. It was my first ever live stream, but also that is one of the tables that I hold up to highest esteem because it was the perfect introductory table to TTRPG, the perfect introductory table to how to be as a bunch of people coming together. We did safe, like the first thing we ever talked about in there was safety tools and making sure we understood what we want out of this game, what the no's are, respecting each other's boundaries and respecting each other's pronouns, making sure we have a good understanding of the table, and we just had fun because of that. And that, I'm so glad I got to do that table because it taught me everything I needed to know on how to be a person in this community, how to be a TTRPG player, how to be a storyteller, how to be a safe person, so others feel comfortable being around me, how to respect each other at the table and give and take so that way no one ever feels left out. And in that process, and because I was playing the type of character that I was playing, I felt comfortable and I was encouraged to be able to connect back with my culture, to be able to bring aspects of it to talk about. And that really helped so much. Like I cannot even begin to describe how freeing that felt to be able to connect with my culture. And then at that point, what year did I do? I think it was 2017 is when I first did Gilmore, the first attempt. And that was me just, I'd gotten into Critical Role and I was really loving it and wanting to be a part of it. And I remember learning about Gilmore, and for some reason, like the first thing, he was the character that I gravitated towards the most because, like me, he's a transplant that came from a foreign country that is now living in this world. He was very eccentric. He has all these quirks and connections and ties to his homeland that it seems to connect with. And so for some reason, I think I only ever read the description of him and hearing Matthew Mercer like speak as him. For some reason, like the first thing I thought of is, oh, he's Indian. That guy's Indian. That he's Desi, right? And I connected with him that way. And because of that, even without seeing any of his artwork, I started imagining him as a Desi person. And so because of that, when I finally got the courage to cosplay him, because this was after I did the photo shoot with Ginny D, and like I said, that sparked so much more back up a lot of my creative interests again. I remember the rest of my family had gone to India for my cousin's 2017, yeah, for my cousin's wedding. And so they all left. I was home alone, and I just was like, I don't have anybody to judge me. No, not like my family would, but like there's this internal, you judge yourself when people are around you. And I've been inspired to cosplay things. I don't have the skills to actually make anything. Why not just closet cosplay this? And so I got inspired to do so. I went and I pulled out my old sherwani from my wedding. So that was my wedding attire.
Wow.
And so I got my red sherwani that I wore for my wedding. I added a couple of accoutrement, like accessories that I found on Amazon that I bought. I shaved my beard and just kept my mustache, which, oh, thank God my wife wasn't here for that because she would have killed me. She almost did kill me when I finally visited them in India later, like half a month later. Part of the reason why I keep a beard is because of my wife. She hates seeing me baby face. And so when I did that and I sent her the photo, she's like, what did you do? I'm like, yeah, I promise it'll grow back. I promise it'll grow back when I just need to try this. And so that's all I did is I shaved my beard, kept my mustache, and then I just did a little bit of makeup, wore my sherwani from my wedding, and that's when I got it. And the photo I took was a selfie from my cell phone. I just took a couple photos like that, ended up loving it, and then fell in love with the character even more. And I was like, okay, how can I build on this? How could I do more? And so I added things over time, but the base was always still that original kurta, the original sherwani from my wedding. And that's how Gilmore came about.
Yeah, God, they're so pretty. There's one of the I guess, newer. The timeline of all these pictures is kind of jumping my brain. But there's one that you're sitting under a tree or next to a tree, I think. And I don't know. Now I'm feeling like I'm misremembering.
Is this the shot with the feather coming down?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because that was taken on around the same time.
Okay.
So there was one where I took a shot of myself out in the backyard on my porch, and I photoshopped a black feather coming down as like to symbolize his connection with is it Vax?
Vax. Yeah.
Yeah, Vax. Yeah, Vax'ildan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if that's the one you're talking about.
I think I do remember that one, but no, I'm talking. There's one in that. There's a couple that you did in fairly. I think you did them as part of the same set or very shortly after each other. There's one where they're both outdoors, but there's one where you're wearing these like flowing purple, very long scarf like.
Yes.
Thing that's
okay.
swirling around you.
Is that when I'm like more bare chested?
The one under the tree, yes. Yeah, that's the one where it's like it looks more like older style.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one that I remember.
Yes.
Was it really?
Yes. So that was I want to say 2020. When I went to India, I forget, I'm blanking the artist's name right now, but an artist from Sri Lanka. The artist was from Sri Lanka, was a Critical Role fan, and they did an art piece of Gilmore if he was in traditional Sri Lankan attire. And I thought it spoke to me so much because, once again, in my head, Gilmore is Desi, and I saw those photos. I'm like, that would make sense. Like if he was in Marquette, like maybe that's how he dressed. Like that was before he moved to wow, am I blanking the name of the
where he moved to? It's okay.
Thank you. Sorry, Matt. I'm so sorry. I'm butchering your world. But yeah, so in my head, I was like, that makes perfect sense to me. So when I went to India, I was like, I need to do the shoot out here. So I specifically asked my cousins to purchase a purple, it's called a purple dhoti. And it's a very traditional, especially in South India, a very traditional style of attire. And so I got that idea. My wife's friend is a photographer. I'm like, yeah, let's go take a photo shoot. Let's go. And so we ended up going out of the city and into this area where a bunch of coconut trees were. And I was like, this is a perfect place. And ended up doing that. He did the photo shoot. I did the edits for it. And that's the results.
God, it's so pretty. It's so I'm going to link as many as I can find because like they're so like they're so perfect. They're so perfect in my mind's eye. Like I hear Matt's voice, and now there's also the voice actor who portrayed Gilmore in the show.
Starts with an S. I'm blanking myself now. Like I said, I have the worst memory that happens at like the worst time. I know people's names until it matters, and then it just dumps it.
Yeah.
Because funny enough, he's also the voice actor for Harbor in Valorant.
Incredible.
That I did a cultural consultation for, and actually I was up against him because I was in the audition in the running to be the voice actor for that character as well, and he beat me out because he's amazing. Sunil.
Yes. Another fantastic and visually stunning individual, but also like very cool person.
Fantastic voice actor. Amazing person. I've not had the privilege of personally meeting him yet, but him, myself, and one other person were in running for this. Like we got to the end. I don't know how I managed to get up that high in the list, but
it's because you have skill.
This was before I had any practice and any right to call the voice actor. Like zero training, nothing at all. But this also goes to show how opportunities can come about while you explore things, because the reason I got asked to do that is, well, first off, I got asked to be the cultural consultant. The reason I got to be asked to be a cultural consultant is because I got and reconnected with my culture through TTRPG. which made me more and more, as I wanted to learn about my culture, I also wanted to share it with other people more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because you're a lot of these memories and a lot of this knowledge is already back there, but because
Mm-hmm.
you've locked it away for so long, it kind of feels like rewriting a bicycle after like 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're still there, you know the knowledge, you have it, but you know sometimes it can be a bit of a struggle. So going through that process of learning and teaching other people and being able to share, and I would start doing these like worldly Wednesday posts
Mm-hmm.
online where I would throw up a topic and make a thread about what that is about. I did
Yeah.
one where I remember, I think obviously the biggest and most famous one that I guess I'm known for is my how to make chai post.
I was
That
gonna ask about that because, like, listen, my community is called the Caffeine Nation because I have a coffee and tea kind of thing, and I was like, I remember that post. I remember that post about chai, and every time I see it pop up, I'm like, dang, I gotta make chai. Dang, I gotta do that someday.
Man, I didn't realize that was going to blow up the way it did, but that motivated me to then keep doing more of something like that. So I did one
Mm-hmm.
about talking about Avatar the Airbender and how a lot of those themes and concepts actually tie into not just Buddhism, but also Hinduism, because
Mm-hmm.
Buddhism stems from Hinduism in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And then so a lot of these concepts can be found in there, and that, doing things like that. I did posts about Indian folklore during Halloween to talk about, like,
Mm-hmm.
inspire people to use and learn about monsters and creatures from other cultures to be inspired into their own world, and so on and so forth. And so all of these tied in, and I guess someone saw that and they're like, "Oh, would you like to be a cultural consultant for this character?" Okay, sounds great. I did that, they loved it, and then they're like, wait, you also do these actual plays and TTRPG shows where you're acting as characters. Clearly that means you know how to perform, and you also do voices. Do you want to audition to be the voice actor for this too? And so you're just like,
That's so cool.
okay, I didn't get it. Once again, I didn't get it, but it wasn't about getting it. It was about realizing then that, oh, people were willing to, without any training, willing to give me this shot. Imagine what I can do if I actually dedicated my time into this and
Mm-hmm.
built the appropriate skill sets and built the knowledge base that I needed and the experience I needed. Maybe I would have gotten it back then, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't because it was not the right time for me. But it inspired me and motivated me to then pursue this as an actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up doing a narration for an audiobook that I never thought I would do. And so, you know, you just never know, but you start building on things and it takes time, but you going back to that, you build on things and then new avenues open up, and
Mm-hmm.
it's wonderful when it happens.
Yeah. And keeping your eyes open for those opportunities as well and being open to maybe doing things that don't seem like they connect. So like,
Mm-hmm.
you're consulting for this thing, you could have very easily been like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Like that doesn't seem like that's the voice acting sounds cool, but no, no, no. No, I'm here to consult. I'm here to be the
Yeah.
consultant." And then that would have been, an opportunity that was showed itself that you in this universe took and has led to other things. So that's another bit of advice, friends. Take your time, and also keep a weather eye open for
Mm-hmm.
finding that moment or those moments where you can try. You can
Mm-hmm.
go. You can just do it. Just do it. Just go
Do
and
it.
do
And
it. Just do it.
the worst thing that's going to happen is you don't get it, right? But at least you've gained the experience and you understand the process more, and
Mm-hmm.
now you can make more of an informed decision of if that is something for you or not,
Yeah.
right? If yeah, I had zero experience, and if I just based it off of that and told them that no, I can't do it because I don't have any experience and I'm not confident in doing this,
Mm-hmm.
I would not have known about the process. I would have not known about what it took to be a part of that. And then I would not have known whether or not I liked it or not. But after I did it, if at that moment I decide, no, man, that was a harrowing experience. I don't like being in front of a mic and doing all of that. Never going to do that again. You at least made an informed decision based
Yeah.
off of that experience, right? Versus missing that opportunity altogether.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's so things are a lot more connected than you think they are. So like your example is so great because it is all of these things. Your passion for photography led you to taking pictures of cosplay, which led to Critical Role, which led to TTRPGs, or in whatever order. Like all of these things led to each other to the point where you're asked to voice act on a video game, and you're able to share your culture not only online but also like to make sure that video games are doing so appropriately and not appropriatively, and all of that sort of stuff. And it's so, yeah, just every once in a while, friends, just stop and think about, have that moment on the couch of like, I wonder how I got here, because you'll really, it's really kind of wild, thinking about, you know, all of the people you've interacted with, all of the opportunities that you either have had or haven't you know, reflecting on like, dang, I wish I had taken that opportunity, so that you can like see if that something like that comes up in the future. Just have self-reflection is really great. It's really good for yourself, for your soul and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like one of my favorite examples I like to give people, I don't know how much of this is an urban legend versus how much actually it was true, but in India, in one of our most famous actors, his name is Rajinikanth. He is a South Indian actor, from predominantly he works in the Tamil movie industry, and he was originally a bus conductor. He was the guy on a bus giving out tickets to people, and it happened to be that one day while he was on the bus, a movie director was there with him, like he was riding the bus, and Rajinikanth the way he gave out tickets, the way he interacted with people, the flair that he had, he just exuded a lot of like this, confidence and gravitas, and just kind of made himself just like, I think he would do like singing and dancing along the way, and just kind of performing and doing things as he was doing his job. And mind you, you look at this person and you think, that's not a movie star. If you were to just base off of his physicality, the dude is like short, like 4 something, I think. He looks not the most handsome person in the world. He's not like some jacked up, Hollywood style, Greek god looking person. Just a very average, if my humble opinion. I'm gonna get, oh god, I probably shouldn't say this. I'm gonna get excoriated by people, especially his fans, because he has fans. I'm talking like, this dude is a big deal. You guys look him up. Look up Rajinikanth, Indian actor. He is one of the biggest actors in the world, actually, if you were to just look at the number of followings he has, bigger than most Hollywood stars, right? But because he put himself out there, this director saw him and noticed him, and he said, hey, you want to be in a movie? And now the guy is where he is. Freaking ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And so I just really, really think that you never know when those opportunities come. So you just really, and how it comes, or what kind of opportunities come your way. You might not even be seeking that kind of an opportunity, but when it does come, it's worth saying yes, or at least trying it out, because you never know where that's going to take you.
Yeah, you might be on doing a talk show, and somebody really cool says that they want to be on your talk show, and then you get to talk about cool things with somebody on your talk show.
I'm honored to be on there, and then honored that you want to talk to me.
God, we could literally talk. Listen, I would love to talk to you for hours, but that's not practical. But this has been part 2. Listen, that maybe at a convention sometime we can have a part 2. Who knows? But this has been so good, and y'all, there's so much that KP is doing and has talked about on the internet, and so many things that are happening that this is like this much of it, and it's just a delightful, delicious taste of this beautiful.
You're too
good. So thank you so much for being here. I would like for you to spend some time to do that whole self-promotion thing. Tell people where they can find you and find your work, support you, etc., etc., etc.
Well, I'm I- I'm just all over the place right now. I'm about to be a dad, so I apologize if I don't have a lot to talk about besides just that. It's the biggest thing that's occupying my brain right now. I will be as I mentioned, I do photography. And actually, I will be at Big Bad Con if anybody's planning to attend that in late September. I think it's in the last weekend of September, going into October. I actually will be if you are a one of the POC scholars, I'm offering my headshot and photography services to those people at a very steep discount of only $100 versus my typical price of 500. And then on top of that, whatever slots don't get filled up by them, I also have some dedicated slots for just general con attendees for Big Bad Con at $250 instead so half off. So if anybody's looking to book photo shoots, keep a lookout for that. If you are part of the POC Scholar program for Big Bad Con, you should have already gotten a sign-up sheet in your email, so do look for it, sign up, and hopefully I'd love to take photos of you guys when I'm out there. But yeah, I will be out there. I'm hoping I think I might be a part of a couple panels as well, so you should be able to see me around there and just come say hi. I'm always looking forward to chatting with new people and learning about other folks. So I think that's the big thing I can think of right now that's on the horizon.
Heck yeah. So take advantage of these opportunities, friends. You never know. But thank you so much for being here and sharing so much of you and your craft and little bits and it's just my heart is so warm. Thank you all for watching and listening. I hope that your cups remain full of something delicious and your conversations stay candid. Have a great day, everybody.